if you're trying to create a lot of content and 90% of your content on social media is stuff that people can find on Google, you might be missing the mark. And I would suggest you focus on documentation instead of content creation if you find yourself in that place. Now, here's what documentation is. Documentation is just as it sounds. You're documenting some of the more notable parts of your day and not really enhancing or embellishing them, just giving people an inside peek into what it's like to be in your shoes. Social media at its core, aside from connection, is really escapism. And I feel like those are a little bit at odds sometimes. But when I'm talking about escapism on social media, it's the ability to get out of your own reality for just a minute and connect with someone else's. And you actually have a really intriguing life, especially if you are someone who has the courage to go and create your own business in real estate. Whether you're doing it part-time or full-time, it's a very challenging industry. And there's a lot of things that you're doing that might feel like run-of-the-mill type things day to day that a lot of people who actually want to work with you have no idea. And so if you follow me on Instagram or even on TikTok, you'll see that a lot of my content is just documentation. It's showing my cute kid, it's showing off some of the places that I like to go, it's giving an inside look at what it looks like to get a listing prepped for sale. It's not necessarily the 3 things that you need to do to buy in 2022. Like for me, that content belongs on YouTube because that's Googleable content. On social media, I'm there to entertain, inspire, and motivate. Now, education is a little bit. I do want to show that I know what I'm talking about as a professional, but just a little food for thought. If you find yourself really stalling out on content creation, documentation might be a good place to hang out for a while. Now, the second kind of content that you can kind of focus on with your content strategy is market data. Now, just like the Googleable stuff, you don't want to go like all in on market data because it can be a little overwhelming and confusing. And in this video, I actually shared exactly how to talk about market data in a way that makes sense to your audience. So go watch that video first. I won't go too into depth here on that topic since I've already kind of touched on it, but I do think it's important to have this as part of your strategy so that you are still a source, like an authoritative source on the real estate market, and that you can stay top of mind in that way on social media. But for me specifically, this is what a market update might look like for me on my Instagram feed. I'm gonna first really make sure that I am choosing a type of content that does really well on Instagram, which is a carousel post. A carousel post is literally just a collection of images on one post. So you select multiple images and you post it as one. Now in this instance, I went ahead and made the first image just a beautiful, authentic photo of me and my husband. That's one of our brand photos. We also included that in our quarterly magazine to our database. But then as you swipe, you start to see the market data that I've compiled here. I will also say this is one of the only times I'm using a Canva template. Now, while I do find Canva templates super helpful and some templated content is nice to have just as a little buffer, I don't use a lot of them. And so this is where they come really in handy for me. Now, the third big social media content hack I have for you is FAQs. And this is not the FAQs you might be thinking of. It's really easy to think of like the very surface level FAQs of like, how do I get started with my home search journey? I'm talking about FAQs that are hyper specific to situations that actually happen, right? And so we can talk about FAQs from the context of what it's like to be a real estate agent or what you really do for your clients. I think that's always really helpful content. For example, one piece of content that performed really well for me was this reel on showing the difference between professional and non-professional photos on listings. And I got a lot of interaction on that saying, well, aren't really super professional photos that are also super edited misleading? And so I actually did an FAQ of, are professional photos misleading? And I took that as a teaching moment to actually explain the value of professional marketing backed by a real estate agent with your listing. And I think it was a really impactful piece of content that I was able to repurpose from Instagram also onto TikTok. And so if we're thinking about FAQs, maybe it's not so much frequently asked questions, maybe it's the weird one-off questions. So that would be more like whooks. Weird one-off whooks. So I don't know, maybe we can like add that as a little term. Instead of facts, we're looking at whooks. Maybe we'll put a pin in that. But really what we want to focus on is that context. and relevance, right? So not just assuming we know what people are asking us, but those weird one-off situations are actually really helpful moments to story tell and provide context into what a home purchase or sale actually looks like for real people. And that real authentic content is what performs so well on social media platforms today. Okay, now. Thank you so much for watching this quick win series here on our YouTube channel. Of course, any resources or additional videos mentioned during this quick win are linked below in the caption, so check that out. And if you have not yet, be sure to hit subscribe to this channel and hit that bell notification icon to be notified every time we're dropping other quick wins just like this.